Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Storytime with Mrs. Larsen. I hope you enjoy our story today. It's called The Father Who Forgave. You're going to like this one. It's taken from Luke chapter 15, verses 11 through 32. Written by Robert Baden and illustrated by Betty Wind. Let's start. Once, long ago and far away, there lived a wealthy man. He had 2 sons. He loved them both as much as a father can. He hoped his boys would both obey the laws of God and man. He prayed that they would live their lives according to God's plan. The older said, "I'll do my best." The younger didn't bother. He said, "I hate to live at home." His words upset his father. This son came to where the old man stood and stared him face to face. "Please, give me half of all you own. I want to leave this place." His father said, "Son, don't forget what God and I have told you. You're old enough to have your way. I can no longer hold you." Look at that. The father looks pretty upset. Pretty upset with what the son is saying. That must be so hard for a father. But he knew the son was old enough to make his own way, and he couldn't stop him. The older son felt angry when his father cried that day. "I hate the way he's made you sad by running off this way." His father, though, just sighed and said, "Although I'm sad, I love him. I pray that you'll forgive him too, that God will watch above him." See the brother? He's not happy with what his brother has done. And the father just looks so sad that the son wanted to leave. A few weeks later, neighbors came with stories of the son. "He's spending money sinfully. It's shocking what he's done." This made the father hurt inside. He fell upon his knees. "Dear God," he prayed, "talk to my son and make him listen, please." Look at those guys. It's like they couldn't wait to come and tell the father what the son had done. And look at him. He's praying and he's trusting God. He's trusting God will bring his son back. Again, for weeks, he heard no word. And then he got the news. "Your son has wasted all he had. He's even lost his shoes. He's feeding pigs to earn enough to buy a crust of bread. It looks to us as if your son might just as well be dead." Look at that. They're so eager to rush and tell the father all the things the son has done wrong. The father looks worried. The older brother heard the news and said, "I should be sad, but he's getting what is right for wasting what he had." Look at that. The brother doesn't look happy at all. I bet he feels kind of bad that he's not forgiving. But once again, the father turned to God in prayer then. "Oh Lord, please send my boy back home to live with us again. I know what he's done is wrong, but I just can't forget him. If he would want to come back home, then surely I would let him." It's just like a father ready to forgive. He wants his son back. More than anything, he wants his son back. The older brother saw this love and heard the father's word. He shook his head and said, "I can't believe what I've just heard. He took your money and ran away. And still, you think about him? We've proved that we can run this place and get along without him." The brother just seems very angry. For weeks, the father stood upon his porch each day and night to see if he could see his son come walking into sight. But after watching for an hour, he'd come inside once more. "Perhaps next time," he said. "I'll see what I'm looking for." See him standing there just watching, just hoping to see his son come walking down the path. At last, far off, he saw someone and cried, "I see my son!" He left the porch, went down the steps, and broke into a run. The boy looked dirty, tired, and thin. His clothes were badly torn. His shoes were gone. His hair a mess. His face looked old and worn. Now remember, this is a young man. Look at that father just running toward him. All that he's been through, the father just can't wait to put his arms around him and hug him. The boy knelt down and cried, "I've sinned and wasted what you gave. I don't deserve to be your son. Please, treat me like your slave." The father didn't scold his son. Instead, he hugged and kissed him. He ordered clothes and rings to be brought and said how much he'd missed him. Look at that. All he wanted to do is put his arms around his son and love him and forgive him. He shouted, "Servants, kill a calf, the one that looks just right. Prepare a feast. Invite our friends. We'll celebrate tonight." The father's so happy he wants to have a big celebration to honor his son coming home. It's what he's wanted all along, for his son to come back. As soon as the banquet was prepared and all sat down to eat, but where the older brother sat, there was an empty seat. See that wonderful banquet table? All that delicious looking food the father had prepared to celebrate his son, his long lost son coming back. Their father went outside to where his older brother stood waiting. The boy said, "Why do you do this for one you should be hating?" He disobeyed. "I did your will, and yet I got no feast. Why do you celebrate for one who's acted like a beast?" "My son," the father said softly, "I've always had you near. My wealth will all be yours one day. You have my love. Don't fear." I think the brother was just jealous. He was so jealous that the father gave the son a huge feast when he had made bad choices. And the brother had always done the right thing. But the father told him, "I always have loved you. I always will. But now your brother has come home. It's like he's long been dead. He lives again. Please come inside. Don't pout. Instead, rejoice." We don't know what that brother did when he heard his father's voice. He might have gotten mad and left, or made some other choice. But just perhaps he may have learned to forgive and love his brother. If so, they all could celebrate in joy with one another. See the father talking to the son and saying, "Please come in." He wants him to forget his brother. We should forgive. God forgives us. We ask and he forgives because he loves us so, so much. Just like this father loves his son so much, and he was ready to forgive whatever the son did. He wanted to forgive him and bring him back home. That's what he wanted, and that's what God wants from us. He wants us to ask for forgiveness, and he will forgive every single time because he loves us so much. I hope you enjoyed this story. I loved reading it to you. Have a wonderful day, and remember, you are loved. Bye, boys and girls.